What it do, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Axis of Combat podcast, episode 80. Today we're going to be breaking down UFC Tampa. That's Covington versus Buckley. Then we're going to, cap it off with a little bit of boxing. Just one fight, but I think it's worth talking about. It's your boy Ray Boogie Kahuna, my co-host.
Who got the boss? Who got next? You already know. And before we get into any of that business, you already know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, follow Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Everybody enjoying these visuals right now. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date.
And for all of our audio listeners, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcast, you already know.
First fight on the card at men's featherweight, we have Miles Chapo Johns going one-on-one with Felipe Jungle Boy Lima. Johns, 15-2, fighting out of Dallas, Texas, 30 years old. Lima, 13-1, fighting out of Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 26 years old. I mean, originally when I seen this fight on paper, or at least when I was looking into it, I was like, you know what? I think Lima's the side. But then I decided to watch Lima's last fight, which was his debut fight. Came out, guns blazing, got taken down. Second half of that fight, kind of got controlled a bit, looked a little tired in the second round, finished him in the third round. Miles Johns also been, waiting for a fight for a while. Who's originally supposed to be fighting Cody Garbrandt. Garbrandt ended up pulling out. He said, I got to get one fight in before the end of the year. Give me anybody. So now they got these two guys lined up. Like I said, I'm going to be leaning Johns here. Not with crazy amount of confidence. I think Lima early, if he can survive the storm. I think Johns, if he goes to the wrestling, I think he can control him. And I think I can see Johns by decision. If you like the Lima side, I think Lima rounds 1 and 2, even though he got a third round submission last fight. I don't
see a world where he subs him either.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Give me Johns by decision. But I mean, in terms of confidence, I'm moderately low on it.
I'm going to be honest with you. This is like the pure definition of a dog or pass spot. For all the reasons my brother listed too. Miles is low volume. If I could trust Miles to be a little more high volume, I think I would be more favorable in terms of picking him as a side here. I'm going to lean Lima because I think he's going to be the busier fighter. I think he's going to be able to manage space and keep him on the outside against a low volume Johns. If Johns doesn't wrestle him up early, I think Lima can definitely land damage and steal a round or two. But this is definitely a line play fight in my opinion. I think it's dog or pass predominantly just because of the variables that we listed, and I think that's how you have to go. I'm going to lean Lima, but like you, not a high degree of confidence here. I think this fight can go many different ways for a lot of different reasons.
Next fight on the card at women's flyweight, we have Fear the Maverick. Miranda Maverick going one-on-one with Jamey-Lyn Horth. Maverick, 14-5, fighting out of Denver, Colorado, 27 years old. Jamey-Lyn Horth, 7-1, fighting out of Canada, hailing from Canada, 34 years old. Now, even though Jamie is going to be the bigger girl here, the longer girl here, but she's also the least experienced girl here.
Right.
Or
the less experienced.
The less experienced.
It's all good, yeah.
English is English in me right now.
I think it's easy to get least and Jamey-Lyn Horth mixed up in any sentence.
I think I'm going to go Miranda Maverick here.
You know you're going to go Maverick.
I know I'm going Miranda Maverick here. I mean, listen, she's improving. I give her credit. I think her stand-up's improving. I think she's better everywhere than Jamey-Lyn here. Maybe outside of the physicality. Maverick's, going to keep her on the outside, pick and pop. And if it comes to the ground, that's where she wants it. And I think Jamey-Lyn off her back, probably not the best, but I'm going to say Maverick by decision.
Yeah, this is like one of those fights where you look at the line and you think it's typically like a dog or pass spot because it's women's MMA, but I don't think this is one of those situations. I'm on board with you. I think Miranda Maverick is going to make, mincemeat out of this girl. I don't think Jamey-Lyn Horth is very good. Besides size, that's all she's really got. She doesn't have the experience edge. She's not like a big puncher. She's not,
she's also going to be slower in there in terms of just hand speed and just overall.
Yeah, this fight is purely value plays. I think if like Miranda Maverick by sub is juicy, you play it. I think if it's, I wouldn't even play like a plus 100 on the decision because I do feel like there's finishing upside on Miranda Maverick's side for this fight. So give me Miranda Maverick by however she wants, but not sure how I'm going to cap it yet, to be frank.
Next fight on the card at men's featherweight, we have the sniper, Sean Woodson, going one-on-one with El Valiente Fernando Padilla. Woodson, 12-1-1, fighting out of St. Louis, Missouri, 32 years old. Padilla, 16-5, fighting out of Chihuahua, Mexico. Repping Mexico, 27 years old. Another banger, striker versus striker style fight. Two guys who are long and lanky for the division. I like the Charles Woodson side here. And I like the Charles Woodson side here only because I think technically he's... No, you know what? Scrap that.
This is a tough fight. This is a tough fight to call. I'm gonna be honest with you.
This fight is actually kind of tough because I think Fernando's striking is actually pretty solid.
Hits harder too, in my opinion.
He hits harder, and I think he's got more tools. He's, more willing to use the elbows, uses a lot of kicks, knows how to use the kicks at range as well. Woodson, boxing specialist. I can see Woodson, sticking the jab out, keeping the lateral movement back and forth, frustrating Padilla, not really letting Padilla get in. I think if Padilla gets in, his Muay Thai clinch is actually pretty solid. This is probably dog or pass. I'm not too sure who I want to pick here. I feel like Woodson is the side late. I think Padilla is the side early. Woodson, once he gets into that flow state,
he's difficult to deal with, man.
Very, very hard to deal with. I think he rolls with the punches a little better than Padilla. This is tough. I'm going to lean Woodson. Not that much confidence. I don't hate a dog play on Padilla if you like that route. And I do think Padilla's got the finishing upside as well.
I like the dog side here. I'm one of those people. Yeah, I think this is pure dog or pass spot. I think Sean Woodson, this is the first guy he's fought with the same dimensions as him, even though Sean Woodson looks like he was stitched together from different humans. Weirdest body had ever made, to be frank, but he does have skills. I think Padilla, power upside, I think he has the more opportunities to grappling upside. Just because of the dimensions, I feel like this is going to be a much tougher fight for Woodson than it is going to be for Padilla. I also feel like there are questions about Woodson's chin, especially after almost getting murdered by Luis Saldana. I'm going to go the upside here. I'm going to go dog and the guy who I think has a higher ceiling in the sport, in Padilla. I think Padilla showed a lot in his fight against Juicy J. I think he has really good power. To all your points, I think he has the more of the tools. He has more tools to show in this contest at range with the elbows and with the kicks. I think Woodson's gonna have a lot more trouble getting into his flow state than a lot of people want to believe. I would be curious to see if Woodson wrestles him in this fight. I can't trust Woodson to really do that, so I'm going to go Padilla. Dog or pass, sign me up. For all the reasons I listed.
Next fight on the card at men's lightweight, we have Drakkar Klose going one-on-one with El Fenomeno Joel Alvarez. Klose, 15-1, fighting out of Glendale, Arizona, 36 years old. Alvarez, 21-3. Fighting out of Spain, repping Spain, 31 years old. This is another very interesting fight. I'm a fan of Drakkar Klose. Hasn't really lost to anybody crazy outside of Beneil Dariush, which, how do you feel about that fight? Has it aged well? Has it not aged well?
I've been on record on this podcast saying that I think Beneil Dariush might be a little flukish. And it's not because of his grappling skill. I just don't think he's had a great chin. I think he fought a lot of guys like Gamrot, guys that are not going to test his chin. Then he ran into Charles Oliveira and got absolutely mollywopped. And his striking is okay. Like, his defensive striking is not great. Drakkar Klose hurt him, and then he stumbled into a knockout against Drakkar. Drakkar kind of just let it happen, unfortunately. So Drakkar hasn't been the same since the Jeremy Stephens shove.
I was just gonna get to that. Yeah, he's had his string of bad luck, ever since that loss. The Jeremy Stephens shove fucked his neck up.
Which is crazy. That's crazy.
But it hasn't really affected his record. He's been in there, not with the highest brand of competition, but he's been on a streak. He hasn't really lost since the Dariush fight. This is definitely his biggest test to date. I'm going to be leaning Alvarez here, only because I think Alvarez, super big for the division, super long, hits hard, finishing ability.
Good guillotine.
He might play off his back maybe a little too much, which is what I kind of fear here. I think if Drakkar Klose gets his wrestling going, it's a path for him. But
even there, is he really safe?
Yeah, exactly. And, he's 36. Don't know how much, he's got left in him.
If this fight was pre Dariush knockout, I pick Drakkar as a dog. There's no question.
Yeah. I like him. I like for me, I feel like he's the more complete fighter.
He is.
But Alvarez is a beast, man. And I gotta lean him. simply because I think he's just got the goods, and I think he's got what it takes to get the car Klose out of this fight. I'm gonna pick Alvarez, probably ITD. I don't think the line should be as wide, only because the car has that wrestling upside, but
Agreed.
I think Alvarez does get this one done.
I'm with you on Alvarez, and I will say I think his last contest against Elvis Brenner showed me a lot, because typically before that fight he would get into a lot of wars, and people thought the Elvis Brenner fight was going to be a war. He was very calculated in that fight against a guy who causes fucking havoc for everyone that he fights. Just based on that performance, I feel like Alvarez is kind of circling into his own. I think he kind of knows that he has something and that he could probably be a championship caliber fighter. Give me Alvarez. I just feel like this is a lot for Drakkar at his age. I think that Drakkar, once again, if this is pre-Dariush, even pre-Jeremy Stevens shove, I'd probably favor him. I'd probably favor him as a dog here, but I just think Alvarez, the way he looked in that last fight, man, damn, that's a world championship fighter. That guy knows what he has to do. Manage range against a guy who has decent wrestling in Elvis Brenner and decent striking in Elvis Brenner. And I can't honestly say that Drakkar at this point in his career does anything better than Elvis Brenner. I can't. I think if Elvis fought him, he probably beats him up. And I think he outdogs him too. I hate to say that because I like Drakkar close, but
no, I mean, that's a fair point. I can see that.
Yeah, it's just I think Joel Alvarez is the goods. Give me Joel Alvarez, probably ITD here.
Next fight on the card at men's flyweight, we have Star Boy Manel Kape going one-on-one with the Bulldog Bruno Silva. Kape, 19-7, fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada, but repping Portugal, 31 years old. Bruno Bulldog Silva, 14-5-2, fighting out of Brazil. Actually, no, fighting out of Phoenix, Arizona, but repping Brazil, 34 years old. I'm going to be leaning Manel Kape here. Police! Call the cops. This is going to be a closer fight than, I think most people expect, only because of just the way Manel Kape fights. Yeah, I mean, he generally keeps these things closer than they need to be. And Bruno Silva, I mean, Bulldog's his nickname, but he's a fucking dog as well. I mean, I think he's very good. He's a little underrated. I think he's solid. He's a solid all-around fighter. And if Kape fucks around, I mean, Kape could find out. Kape might have to call the cops on Bruno. There's a wild rabid dog in the octagon. You know what I'm saying? Police! Help! Call him. But I think I'm going to pick Kape here. I'm going to pick Kape by decision. Bruno's tough. He looked good in his last outing. Decent ground game, decent wrestling defense, decent sub game. I'm glazing Bruno here, but I think Kape is just, the striking is just on another level.
I agree.
The footwork. And I mean, Kape needs to win this fight if he wants to advance, up the flyweight division. At this point, I thought he would have been fighting for a belt already. It's kind of surprising that he's not. It's also kind of surprising they currently got him stuck on the prelims here. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they do some moving around. I think this should be a main card fight, but yeah, give me Starboy, probably by decision. But he should get this one done.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Manel's striking is very good. I think people are probably a little down on him because of the Muhammad Muhammad, but Muhammad Muhammad can wrestle anywhere in this division. At least for a round or two. He was a top 5 guy before getting cut by the UFC. And Manel had his moments in that fight. So I feel like this line's appropriate. The problem is, and this is why he's also caught in the prelims, I think Manel makes these fights way closer than they need to be. There's a lot of fights that he could have stopped if he just went after it. And I think the UFC is letting him know, yo, dude, get your shit together, because we do know what you can do, but the problem is we like finishes. You should like finishes too. And remember, I think he was in line to do a title eliminator or a title, but then missed weight.
Yeah, he's had a string of bad luck, but half of it's been self-inflicted bad luck. You know what I'm saying?
He does it to himself, man.
So it's like when he gets leapfrogged by Urseg and Asakura.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be surprised when that shit happens, when a lot of the bad luck you've run into is self-inflicted.
By the way, this is a guy who knocked out Asakura. It just says a lot about what the UFC thinks about him and his brand. I think he might come out and make a big statement and style on this dude. I hope he does. I want to see how he looks like on the scale, because that's going to be a big determinant of a lot of shit this week.
Yeah.
Just like Navarrete last week. Give me Manel Kape. I'm gonna go by decision just because he couldn't finish a plate of rice or even his salad. Like that's why he's such a hard guy to bet sometimes. He's so hard to get behind because you want in this show you want to bet people that finish. That you want to bet in general people who finish. Those are your safest bets. That's why I love betting Diego Lopez and Max betting him against Sadiq Yusuf because I knew what the finishing upside was on his fucking side. But now, great, just no finishing upside. And that's why it's so hard for like us, as much as we like him, but I think he's so fucking marketable to get behind him. Because how can you confidently cap him, no pun intended, when he doesn't finish his fights? And then there's fights where the guy's visibly hurt and he doesn't stop him. But now I hope you just put him away, man. I really do. We always root for you here, but just finish dudes, man. Period. Pause. Just finish, dudes. Yo. I'm just being honest, man.
Hold on. Focus on you, boy.
Manel Kape. That's all I gotta say about that.
Next fight on the card at men's bantamweight, we have dangerous Davey Grant going one-on-one with the savage Ramon Taveras. Grant, 13-7, fighting out of Las Vegas, Nevada, but repping the United Kingdom, 38 years old. Ramon Taveras, 10-2 overall, fighting out of Jacksonville, Florida, 30 years old. This is another banger of a fight.
It's a great fight.
Two guys primarily like to strike. I'm going to be leaning the young lion in Taveras to do the old lion dirt. He might scar his ass. Send Mufasa to the hyenas, to the stampede. You know what I'm saying? Nah, but like, if Grant could get his grappling going, it could present an issue. But I think Taveras, like, I mean, God, his boxing slick, footwork is slick. Showed some takedown defense against Surrey City. Kept the fight on his feet. Hits hard. No cardio issues from what I can see. Davey Grant. I mean, I like Davey Grant. He's just the older guy here, and he might be, the slower guy, possibly. He's also got solid striking, solid footwork, keeps fights closer than I like personally, but yeah, I'm gonna lean Taveras here. Taveras, maybe third round decision. I can see a late stoppage, but I can also see this fight going the distance. Two guys who are primarily gonna box it out, but give me Taveras for the win.
I think this fight's another dog or pass spot for a lot of reasons. I agree with you. I'm leaning Taveras here too, but I feel like Grant, he should be on a 3-fight winning streak because he beat the Peruvian cat, that Daniel Marcos, who we're going to be talking about later on this card. That was one of the worst judging decisions I've ever seen.
I wouldn't say it's the worst.
It was bad. It was pretty bad.
It was a close fight. I did lean it for Davey.
You think that fight was close?
It was. Marcos was able to,
He threw no punches, bro. There was no activity.
Listen, that's Davey's fault.
No. Marcos threw no punches.
No, that's Davey's fault.
Whoa, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Hey man, you got the grappling. You should have grappled the Peruvian though.
Nah, bro. Like that was
you want to box a striker? I mean, hey, that's on you, bro.
That was no. He didn't land any damage. Hey, I don't know, man.
Arms, man.
I'm sorry. That was a robbery, bro. That was egregious. Like that was a bad one in my opinion. But anyway, we'll talk about this fight. Davey has the wrestling upside here, and he does have a stop on Rafael and Sunsao late, which is fucking impressive.
Very impressive.
It was a little fucked too because obviously I think that was like a situation where the referee gave position and didn't. Yeah, it was weird.
Yeah,
it was weird.
He took advantage of a referee. Listen, these referees be fucking up. So
I mean, it was still good though because
they take points. They don't get positions.
Rafael can grapple.
Or they won't give positions or take away points.
Yeah,
they'll just stand them up or
fence grab.
It's weird shit, man.
You can cheat at least once or twice before the referee start doing anything with their job.
You're guaranteed one free fence grab.
Absolutely,
sure. One hard warning.
But yeah, I'm gonna lean Taveras. I think he's younger. I think there's a dog or pass spot. This fight stinks for whatever reason. I feel like there's a fight where Davey Grant can definitely exploit the wrestling of Taveras, either by just getting to his back against the cage or getting him to the floor somehow or getting him up or hurting him and then club and subbing him. Grant can crack. So I think it's a dog or pass spot, but not with a high degree of confidence. We'll see how we bet this close to the fight night, but give me Taveras, just not with a high degree of confidence.
Next fight on the card at men's light heavyweight, we have a debuting Navajo Stirling going one-on-one with Tuco Tokkos. Stirling, perfect. 5-0, fighting out of Auckland, New Zealand, 27 years old. Tuco Tokkos. 10-4, fighting out of Deerfield Beach, Florida, 34.
Tuco from Deerfield. Interesting.
34 years old. This fight, you want to talk about stinks. This is the
1-800 gamblers of the night.
This is the Stinko de Mayo fight of the card. Navajo. We'll start with that sounded crazy.
Tuco's a Navajo. These guys sound like fucking tribes, man.
Yeah, it sounds like two colliding tribes. Here. Yeah,
it's crazy, bro.
Stirling Navajo. No, Navajo Stirling. I'll start with him. Listen, he's city kickboxing. A little green, a little raw. The only thing I really do like about his game is his kicks.
Agreed.
Everything else is a little bit fundamental, which, I mean, fundamentally solid, but definitely he doesn't look as experienced, and it shows. Tuco. I don't think he's that good at all either, but for different reasons. I think Stirling's got more potential. But Tuco, oh, man, I'm getting tongue twisted on that fucking name. Tuco, not Salamanca, but that's a deep cut.
That's a deep cut. You know.
But Tuco, there's a path to victory for him here if he can take Stirling down. I don't think really anybody has taken Stirling down. Looks like he can be taken down because he looks a little sloppy on his feet, at least in his last fight where he tried to do like a judo toss and kind of just fell on the ground, gave up his back. Tuco's actually decent on the ground, got decent jiu-jitsu as well. I'm gonna be picking Stirling here. That's the official pick. In terms of a bet, I probably shouldn't bet it, but it's definitely dog or pass. Tuco's number gets nice and fat.
I agree.
I might take a stab at it just on principle because I don't think Stirling is that good either.
I agree.
So.
He's a very stout dude.
Yeah.
He's a big dude.
Big dude. Pause.
Like, good. He's lanky too. So
yeah, he's long as hell. Pause.
But I agree with you. I think what's impressive about him is his kicks. His lower calf kick is really good. I'm sure Tuco may have a hard time getting him down initially, but I think on those second and third attempts against a guy who I believe is green as well, he'll be able to have some success. I just think Stirling shouldn't be a minus 500 against anyone at this level. I'm sorry. I don't see it. He's, minus 500. They're making this guy sound like he has striking like Alex Pereira coming in. Like, nah, bro. Like, and this is a fight that's like literally 1-800 gamblers. I'm not sure how I'm going to play it or if I'm going to pick a side. I'm going to pick Navajo, but
probably by KO too. But
yeah, but I'm not confident in that. Yeah. Like, I like maybe the violence play for this fight. Maybe. I don't know if I'm going to play that. But I just feel like at this line, like, you have to play Tuco against a guy who's this inexperienced. I'm sorry. Pure dog or pass. Navajo's lean, but I think the bets should predominantly be centered around violence and parlaying violence. And that's maybe. I think this fight is probably 1-800 gamblers and you should just stay away from it.
Next fight on the card at women's strawweight, we have Piera Rodriguez going one-on-one with Thunder. Josefine Knutsson. Rodriguez is 9-2, fighting out of Panama, repping Venezuela. 32 years old. Knutsson, perfect. 8-0, fighting out of Sweden, repping Sweden. 28 years old. This is another fight that I think, as long as this fight stays standing, I think Knutsson's probably going to style on her, right? I'm picking Knutsson to win this fight. Piera, decent striking. I think she sits down on her punches. She probably hits pretty decently hard. She might have the physicality edge here. If Piera has any chance of winning this fight, I think she would have to try to take Knutsson down and hopefully not headbutt somebody. But
deep cut.
Knutsson, even on the ground, has been showing more capability as of late. So I'm going to be leaning Knutsson here to win. It's a women's MMA fight. It's not low level, but it ain't the highest level. So I'm going to lean Knutsson by decision. This one also, it just stinks a little bit.
A little bit.
Only because I think if Rodriguez can get the fight down to the ground, I think it's a little interesting.
This is another pure example of the Manel Kape fight, where if you could trust Josefine Knutsson to really compound her punches in volume and use her kicks to the head to stop this contest, you would feel way better playing her. Even at minus 200, this is a max bet play in my opinion if she could finish the fight. If you could trust her to finish. This is not a max bet play because she's a decision fighter. If you're asking me, I think she's better than her everywhere. I think she's gonna style her on the feet. I think Piera's going to have a hard time holding this girl down. Her line has moved from -200 to -218 on some books, from what I can tell. It's constantly going up. I just think playing the money line in this girl is a little dangerous in a women's MMA fight where she couldn't finish Marnik Man. The last girl she fought gave her a little bit of trouble. And for me, it's like you have to be like a decision machine where like you're going to unanimous her, or you got to be a killer for me to like really get on board with playing you. With that said, I think the safer play if Knutsson by decision is plus money, I'm playing it. I'll probably play that. I think she should beat this girl up, but I'm not going to touch -200 on Knutsson in a women's MMA fight with a girl that I think probably hits harder than her. And I think if Piera gets it to the floor, I think there is upside for her to win this fight. But if you're asking me, I think Knutsson's better than her everywhere. I think Knutsson will be able to get up, one getting taken down. I think she's way better on the feet. Give me Knutsson by decision here, man. Probably with a decent degree of confidence. I think she is going to get it done. Give me Josefine Knutsson by decision here.
Next fight on the card at men's bantamweight, we have Soncora. Daniel Marcos going one-on-one with Adrian Yanez. Marcos, perfect. 16-0, fighting out of Boca Raton, Florida, repping Peru, 31 years old. Yanez, 17-5, fighting out of Houston, Texas, 31 years old. Another striker versus striker fight on paper. I don't see anybody really taking anybody down to the ground here. Hopefully high volume. Hopefully exciting. This is kind of a tough one for me to pick here. It's a step down in competition for Yanez. But Marcos, I mean, he just finds ways. 50-50 fight, probably Drakkar pass. I'm going to, in Drakkar pass in terms of a bet, but I think I'm going to pick Marcos here for the win. And I think he's just going to be able to put his strikes a little better together. And I mean, Yanez he's just gotta show me, I think. You know,
I agree.
I think he's at this point where he's just got to show me. I don't have faith that he, like, I don't know what, I need to see his motivations. I need to see where his headspace is at. He hasn't fought in a while.
He's the Ryan Garcia of MMA. Like
yeah, a bit. Yeah, I kind of like that comparison a bit. You know?
I mean, Ryan Garcia, a world championship fighter. Yanez is not a world championship fighter, but that's because his offensive weapons are not up to, they don't, like, Roy Jones was a great boxer because Roy Jones's offense was so good that his defense didn't matter.
Yeah.
The same thing with Ryan Garcia. Yanez's striking is not to the point where his defense doesn't matter. I think I'm with you on this. I think Marcos is a little more defensively responsible, and I think he's gonna be the bigger guy in there too. I feel like this is a fight for me for Yanez to show me.
I mean, Yanez,
I agree.
If you ask me who's got the finishing upside, probably Yanez. He probably hits harder.
I agree.
So would I be surprised if, you know,
he lamps him?
He lamps him? No, not really. But I don't have confidence enough to like really back that for a pick. So
I agree. I think this is a show me spot for Yanez. This is a hard fight to cap just because, you know, Yanez does have the potential to upset him. Like this, it's pretty much dog or pass. That's why I think we're gonna keep it. But if you're asking me, gun to the head, I'm gonna pick the guy that I think is, even though he lost to Davey Grant, he looked really good his next one or two outings actually.
Yeah.
I just trust his process a little more than I trust Yanez's. But if Yanez knocks him the fuck out, am I gonna look at it like, wow, like, no, I'm not gonna be surprised at all. But Yanez gotta show me. I gotta see the improvements. Has his defense of the leg kicks gotten better because he got stopped his last contest with leg kicks? But I mean, that was also Martinez.
Yeah, Martinez is a beast though.
But Marcos is doesn't shy away from that kind of game either. So, and this is Yanez, who has a very boxing heavy stance. Give me Marcos, man, not with a high degree of confidence.
Next fight on the card at men's lightweight, we have the menace, Michael Johnson, going one-on-one with the bulldozer, Atman. How do you say this? Azaitar. I keep saying, like, my brain just wants to go Atazir or Al Jazeera, or I don't know what the fuck what is it again?
Azaitar.
Azaitar. I got it. Never gonna forget now. That's Cap, but
no Cap.
Where's the police? Is it still up? Nope, that's the laugh.
That's the laugh. We did laugh. That's your police.
Johnson, 22-19, fighting out of Boca Raton, Florida, 38 years old.
Azaitar.
I fucked up.
Azaitar. I got you. Just say Ottoman. Ottoman Empire.
Is it Ottoman though?
It's Ottoman.
Isn't it Ottoman?
Ottoman.
Okay.
You're right.
Azaitar. 13-2, fighting out of Germany, but repping Morocco, 34 years old. Now, this is a fight where, listen, I'm the biggest Michael Johnson fan you could probably find on the East Coast over here. Maybe not. I don't know.
Make some good money out of him.
I like Michael Johnson, but, my man's a little bit older. He's almost a 500 fighter, believe it or not.
Which is crazy, considering his talent.
He's beating some guys people don't expect him to beat, and then he loses some guys you don't expect him to lose to. On paper, he should beat his Itar here. I can't pick him to beat his Itar here, though. I think his Itar's boxing's pretty clean.
Clean as fuck.
Hits hard, goes to the body. I think if Michael Johnson wants to win this fight, he's got to take his Itar down. And that's a clear path of victory. And I get why Michael Johnson's the favorite. He got more experience, got the wrestling upside. I just don't like betting Michael Johnson at favorite money.
Never.
Favorite odds. He's like minus 200. I'm not saying it's rightfully or unrightfully lined. I think it's appropriately lined. But this is dog or pass.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be picking Michael Johnson to win because he should win. But this one feels like a Michael Johnson special where he might get lamped by his Itar. In terms of a bet, I'm probably going to be circling his Itar by KO.
I agree. I hate to fade Michael Johnson like this, but I don't like playing certain fighters at minus money, and he's one of them. He's one of those guys that he might be winning this fight, so he's not.
Yes.
And a Itar, decent chin, dude, he's only been knocked out by spinning back fists, elbows,
some
vicious shit.
And Michael Johnson's got power. It's not like he can't lamp him either. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah, there's going to be a lot of respect. But if you ask me who's the crisper boxing technique,
yeah,
it's Ottman. As his ability to get to the body, it needs to be beholden amongst MMA. A lot of MMA fighters don't go to dig the body like he does, and he does it quick and fast. He had Francisco Prado shooting on him. Francisco Prado shoots on nobody. That's how good his boxing is.
Argentinians don't shoot on nobody.
They don't shoot on nobody. So for me, it's
they only shoot with these right here.
Yeah. It's for me, the obvious play is, especially at this line, I just wish it was a more closely lined. It's definitely a Itar to play here. Michael Johnson doesn't actively use his wrestling, which he can wrestle. His defensive wrestling's very good.
And even his Itar, against the cage, defensively, he's okay. I mean, we haven't seen anybody really try to take him down in the open mat, but Michael Johnson is more than capable.
He's capable. He should be the favorite, but at this line, against a guy who I think is a little shot, give me as Itar probably by knockout here as well.
Next fight on the card at men's featherweight, we have Killer Cub Swanson going one-on-one with Billy Quarantillo. Swanson, 29-14, fighting out of Palm Springs, California, 41 years old. Billy Q, Quarantillo is 18-6, fighting out of Tampa, Florida, 36 years old. Another banger of a fight, but it's a fight of the old, a fight of the elder statesman. I mean, Cub is by far the older guy. He's 41 years old. Quarantillo, mileage-wise, is probably older.
Yeah, which is crazy.
He's the younger guy, but I think he's a little more shop-worn. Or maybe not shop-worn, but I don't think he can take as much damage as he used to. Yeah. His last fight was a super big red flag. He just did not look.
He looked slow. Yes. He looked like someone that didn't have his legs under him anymore.
Yeah, and Cub, 41 years old, still looks pretty solid in there, man. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to be leaning Cub here. I think Cub, is he the dog?
He is a dog.
So I needed to hear. I take Cub as a dog.
Yeah.
And I think he can get this one done. On paper, you think Billy Q's, he's got the length and reach, right? I think he's got the length and reach here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
5'10" to 5'8". They both had the same reach. And Billy's going to be at home. This is in Tampa, but something about Cub, man. Cub, I just think he's going to eke this one out. Does he get the finish? I think it's possible.
It's possible.
I like third round or finish probably here. But give me Cub for the win.
Yeah, I'm on you with this train. If you're asking me, I think Cub should be on a 3-fight losing streak because I thought he lost to Hakeem Dawodu. I thought it was a clear fleecing. But listen, this is a guy who's been in there with guys who are aggressive and are big punchers. He just went to split decision with Andre Feely, who Max Holloway on record said is the biggest puncher that he fought. Andre also huge for the weight class. Can wrestle, can grapple, worked with Alpha Male for years. If he's going to split decision with someone like that, I feel like Billy Q, a guy who wings his punches and kind of doesn't have the best striking defense and kind of not exploitable on his back. I feel like Cub can wrestle him down. Cub is going to be the more technical striker here. Billy Q, not the biggest leg kicker, which is I think Club's kryptonite low key.
And it's unfortunate because I think Billy Q a couple years ago, I mean,
he bulldozes him.
I pick him.
Yeah.
But like he just looks like he's been fighting underwater lately. Like,
yeah. That last fight against Yusuf Salau, I know it was Yusuf Salau, but man, he looked fucking aged, man.
He looked slow, man.
It looked bad. It was sad. I mean, I would love to see what these boys look like post USADA, but I trust, if there is a suspicion, I'm going to trust Cubs pharmacist a little more than Billy Q's at this point in time. Because, allegedly. Because...
Nah, I think they're clean fighters, though.
Who knows?
They're clean.
Who knows? He's 41.
I'm going to say they're clean.
He's still jumping around going to split decision with Andre Feely. Touchy Feely. He didn't get touchy, then he didn't get Feely in that fight. It was close.
I mean, yeah, Feely was too busy thinking about big booty Latinas in that one. So.
Allegedly.
He dropped the bag.
But yeah, if you're asking me, I'm going to lean Cub here. I think he's the more technical fighter, and their chins are not great, but with that said, I have to go to skill as the next bracket here, and it's Cub all day. He's the better fighter by far.
Next fight on the card at men's light heavyweight, and I mean, as currently constituted, but I'm not sure if he's going to hold the co-main event of the evening. We have Dustin the Hanyak Jacoby going one-on-one with Vitor Petrino. Jacoby, 19-9-1, fighting out of Denver, Colorado, 36 years old. Petrino, 11-1, fighting out of Brazil, hailing from Brazil, 27 years old. Now this is a fight where I'm just gonna keep it a buck. I'm leaning Petrino here. This feels like another setup fight.
Agreed.
For Petrino to get a win. I picked Petrino last time, which also felt like another setup fight against Anthony fucking Smith.
Gets choked out.
My man got choked out in the first round. Petrino, what the fuck are you doing? He had it together, my man.
He had big Riches and Hitchens vibes, and for people who don't know what that means that he has big fluke vibes, in my opinion.
He's just like the dude's supremely talented. I mean,
physical specimen,
cardio, athletic. He's got the power. I'm glazing the boy right now. I mean, He's good. He's got potential. The IQ is a little questionable, right? The fight strategy, a little questionable. But they got him against a guy, a very experienced guy, a guy who he shouldn't sleep on in Jacoby, who's not going to threaten the wrestling or the grappling, so he don't got to worry about getting guillotined again here. A guy who I think Vitor can lamp, but Vitor can also be lamped by this man, because Jacoby, even though he's on a 2-fight losing streak, he upset the African Savage the last time they tried to set him up or put him in a setup style fight.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on the man. I like Jacoby. Excellent kickboxer who's also been improving in his wrestling and grappling as well. Don't know how much that's going to be effective here, because I think Petrino is just going to be Hulk mode in terms of the grappling. He's going to pick him up and put him down. Give me Petrino here, ITD, but surprisingly or not surprisingly, I'm not that confident in it. And in terms of a bet, I don't know how I'm going to approach this one.
Yeah, give me Petrino for all the reasons that you mentioned. I'm going to keep this short. This is a fight where this is a good place to probably bet Dustin Jacoby by knockout or decision, or just take his money line.
Or maybe just fight doesn't go if the under 2.5 is not that crazy, or if they set it under 1.5. I hope they set it at under 2, but it's probably going to be set at under 1.
I just feel like there's a good chance that Dustin's going to circle, use the fence. He has fought guys who have cage pushed him, not really wrestled too much into him, but I still feel like Jacoby he's ready. Like Alonzo had a hard time getting him down in certain positions, and Alonzo is jacked.
I got a weird suspicion that this fight can also go to decision, only because I feel like
Petrino not the biggest finisher.
He might come off a little tentative, considering like he was such a big favorite to win his last fight that he might like I can't fuck up the bag twice.
Correct.
Here. So he might come out a little slow, a little more precautious.
Well, listen, he might come out a little slow, a little more precautious no matter what, because he came out a little slow and a little more precautious against fucking Tyson Pedro, and he should have packed that dude up.
That's true.
It's his retirement fight. And he just said, nah, I'm going to pity pat with you and just show you I can grapple.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, he doesn't have like crazy ground and pound. He's not a big submission artist. I feel like I'm talking to myself onto a Jacoby bet here. Because
I'm talking to myself into maybe a sneaky over. Because on paper, you would think this fight would finish early.
Yeah.
I mean, it's two guys who are going to strike, who are going to throw. They both hit hard. They both have finishing upside. But yeah, at the same time, it's like
Jacoby the ultimate point fighter and Petrino the ultimate potato. Like a guy who's not.
That was perfectly put. I like
it's
that.
Crazy. Like he gets on top of dudes and he doesn't ground and pound. He doesn't land significant damage. Not the biggest submission threat because I still feel like he's learning. And Jacoby knows how to he's gonna know how to manage a big bull like this on the outside. Pause. You know, like I just feel like his understanding of distance is very good unless you're like a guy who covers, like Petrino is explosive, but not explosive like Menefil. Menefil can get from A to B in 2 seconds, plus he has the grappling upside. Petrino's grappling ain't sexy. It's just not. And then like if he can cover A to B, but not in an electrifying way. I do feel like I'm on a dog shot here for Dustin Jacoby. We like a lot of dogs in this card, man. And that's how close some of these lines are just like, they don't make a ton of sense. And I feel like I'm not betting Petrino at minus 300. Like that's not happening. He should have rolled Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith is super shot. It's hard to get behind a guy like this, especially a guy who is not murdering dudes with the gifts that he has. Give me Petrino, man, but not with a high degree of confidence, and possibly expect the dog play on Dustin Jacoby towards the end of this week.
Next fight on the card, and as currently constituted, the main event of the evening at men's welterweight, we have Colby Chaos Covington going one-on-one with New Mansa, Joaquin Buckley. Not Joaquin Phoenix. I almost said Joaquin Phoenix again. If you heard Joaquin Phoenix before, I don't ask me why. I see Joaquin, I go Phoenix. But I'm going to put some respect on New Mansa right here. It's Buckley.
It's Buckley time, baby.
Covington is 17-4, fighting out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, 36 years old. Buckley, he is 20-6, fighting out of St. Louis, Missouri, 30 years old. This fight basically comes down to whether or not, or not whether or not, but what version of Colby shows up. Do you think that his last fight was a fluke or some kind of blip? There was something wrong, an aberration, or is it a trend? Is he actually on the decline? Is he washed? Does he not have it no more? Is this, are we not getting peak Covington here? I'm going to be leaning that we're not getting peak Covington here. I think Buckley, first of all, 30 years old. Leon Edwards, the youngest guy he's fought in a while. Still in his 30s. If you go back in time, he's been fighting a lot of older dudes. Close, pushing 40, in their 40s. The last time he fought anybody who were relatively young outside of Leon was Barberena in 2016. This just screams big. Stay off of Colby. He might be washed.
Yeah.
I'm going to be picking Joaquin Buckley here. I think Joaquin Buckley gets it done by KO. I think he's going to be the second man to finish Covington. The first man being Usman. I think, right? It was Usman in the 5th round. I mean, this man just finished lamping Wonder Boy Thompson,
which is crazy.
Who doesn't get knocked out. Sure, he might have been, an older version of Wonder Boy, but
his striking defense is worlds beyond Colby's.
Like
worlds.
And Phoenix, I said Phoenix. Oh my God. Buckley. Definitely the better striker if you compare him and Usman. And he's definitely got way more power. And I don't see Covington, if he does go to the wrestling, he's going to have a hard time holding his man down. He's just physically just a beast. Give me Buckley here. By KO.
Yeah, I was looking to see if there's a possible dog play here, but I'm kind of there with you. I feel like the question you have to ask yourself is Colby going to be able to hold down Buckley for long periods of time? And I look directly at you in the camera because it is a question that I want to pose to you guys. The reason I ask that is because if you look at anyone ever that's wrestled into Buckley, they've never really been able to hold him against the fence and or control him for long stretches of time on the floor. Since he's cut down to 170, his cardio looks fantastic. He's had to be on a strict diet because he is big for the weight class. Hits extremely hard, even though his striking is a little wild. He does throw overhands. I still think he strikes better than Usman. I think his hooks are better. I think his straight is a little better. I think he is the goods. I would have liked to see him versus Usman more than him versus Covington. The question, once again, we come back to is, do you think Colby can hold this guy down for long periods of time? I don't think so. I think this is probably the most physical guy that Colby's fought outside of Usman, and Colby chose not to wrestle with him. Colby has been dropped before, has had his jaw broken before against a guy that I don't think hits as hard as this guy. And Buckley covers distance much faster than Usman. Once again, Usman, a physical specimen, but more of a trotter and a plotter. Joaquin, like Alonzo Menefield, can get from A to B at a very fast pace. I feel like the way he looked against Wonderboy and just finding Wonderboy was just impressive enough. If he can find Wonderboy, I don't care if you guys feel like it was a fluke shot. He can hit Colby Covington by accident and knock him the fuck out. Joaquin, don't be surprised if he wrestles Colby here too. Now with all that said, Colby, the most credentialed wrestler he's faced. Colby did supposedly have a broken foot heading into the Leon Edwards fight. It's just hard for me to get behind someone who's as inactive as him, has had his jaw broken, has historically not wrestled into the more physical guys, and got taken down by Leon, regardless of how you feel. Don't give a shit if it's a broken foot. Under no circumstance did a guy who is a high-level NCAA high NCAA finalist have gotten wrestled down by a guy who just started learning MMA wrestling the other day. I just feel like you gotta lean Numanza here, and I think it's time to put some fucking respect on this guy's name, because I feel like a lot of the MMA community is just like not understanding the physical specimen and how good this guy is. I think he is being severely overlooked. I think the line is favoring him, so not that severely overlooked, but by casuals, people who don't understand what they're watching, I think this is Joaquin Buckley's fight to lose. Give me Joaquin Buckley, especially over the course of 5 rounds. I'm going to say by knockout as well, just because it's a 5-round fight. If it was 3 rounds, I could probably trust Colby to survive. But Colby, once again, and according to Jorge Masvidal, gets very tired when people wrestle into him. So I'm very curious to see if Joaquin wrestles into him. And if he gets a certain amount of resistance, he also, according to Jorge Masvidal, does get tired, which is why I think he didn't want to wrestle into Kamaru in both those fights. Give me Joaquin Buckley here. Probably by knockout.
And that does it for UFC Tampa. But we got one more fight to cover in the realm of the sweet science in boxing. It's going to be taking place on the top ranked card. But I think Jaime Munguia is a golden boy, promotions boy. We got Jaime Munguia surprisingly taking this is like his, he's super active, right? I mean, this is like.
Correct.
How many fights has he had this year?
This is second, actually.
Second?
Actually, maybe third because Canelo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going one-on-one with a...
Yeah, it is his third. Sorry to interrupt. Canelo, Eric Bazinian, and now this guy.
Third fight this year, going one-on-one with an undefeated Frenchman in the name of Bruno Surace, or Surace. I'm not sure how to say his name. Don't want to disrespect him. It's going to be happening in Tijuana, Mexico. End of the year. Go ahead, my brother, and break this one down.
Yeah, so this is going to be an ass whooping. I always try to look at, as a capper, you should always try to look at the fight before you look at the odds, and the odds are minus 2,000. And I looked at the fight prior to looking at the odds. This is the first time I'm looking at the odds, and they're appropriate. And here's why. Bruno Surace. Is it Bruno Surace? It's Bruno, right? Bruno Surace?
It's Surace or Sarace, or I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. Or Surace. I'm not sure.
It's all right. We're gonna call him Bruno.
Let's call him Bruno from here on out.
Bruno, undefeated. That jumped out the page for me. But if you look at his record, a lot of the guys he's fought, kind of journeyman, kind of very low level. It looks like they kind of built them up properly. Other thing I noticed, Bruno, 20 wins, 25 wins, 4 knockouts. This is a guy that does not have severe punching power, like serious punching power at all. His last fight against John Jada Brogdon was arguably losing the fight, and then just caught Brogdon coming in the last round of the fight with a good counter left-right and put him down. But you could argue he was losing the fight. Brogdon just didn't respect his power enough and ran into a sharp hook and got put down. Got back up and then got stopped with punches later in the round. All credit to Bruno. I respect. I think he's a decent fighter, but this is a huge step up in competition for him. I don't think Bruno has the punching power to get Munguia's respect. I don't think he has the footwork to stay away from Munguia, because even against a Brogdon who is more of a plotter, like he's a plotter like Munguia, but just at a lesser degree, pressure fighter. He kind of got stagnant against the ropes a couple of times and got caught with big fucking shots. In all his fights, his footwork is not exceptional for a guy who's a decision fighter. So you're telling me he doesn't have punching power and he doesn't have the best footwork against a guy who hits very hard, is a pressure fighter and is going to put out a ton of volume on him, is going to be bigger. Definitely has the strength of competition advantage. And even the last fight against Eric Bazanian, that guy is pretty good and gave Munguia some problems throughout the fight. But what you've seen from the Canelo fight to that fight was improvements. He was able to make reads. He was able to break down the body. He was able to act defensively more responsibly in the fight. And you've seen the evolution of Munguia from Canelo to the following fight. I don't expect that development to slow down or take a back step, especially this fight being in Mexico. It's a homecoming for him. I think this is a stay busy fight for him, in my opinion, but I think Munguia is going to torture this guy. I just don't think Bruno has the footwork or the power to really give him any issues. I think this must be like an IBF mandatory fight or some shit, because I don't know how this fight is even getting sanctioned, because I just feel like there's degrees of how much better Munguia is than this guy.
Yeah, no, I looked into that. There's no belt on the line. This is, I think you're right. It's just a purely just stay like busy a fight. Stay busy fight, and kind of a reward fight for Munguia at home.
Yeah, because if you looked at how he looked in the Eric Bazanian fight, Munguia, his last fight, he just looked better. He just looked way better. He was patient. He picked his shots.
He is good, man.
He's very good. He should be fighting the Edgar Berlangas of the world. He should be fighting everyone in that super middleweight weight class that is a contender. Yeah. The Jamal Charlos, wherever he's at, if he's even a contender anymore. This is Munguia's fight to lose 1,000%, but he ain't gonna lose it. I think he could come in at 50% and still beat this guy. Give me Munguia by knockout. I'm gonna say mid rounds. But if I had to bet based on what's going to be offered, probably 1 through 5. I think drops in this fight are live too. I don't think Bruno is a pussy. I think he's going to come to fight, and he might be too tough for his own good, might take a knee or two. That's something I'm also going to look at, but we'll see how the line shakes out as it gets closer to fight time. Munguia by knockout. That's the play.
Yeah, I got nothing else really much to add to that. I mean, I think you broke that down pretty perfectly. I think it's Munguia, probably mid-rounds. This fight is very akin to Canelo Ryder, but unlike Canelo Ryder, I think Munguia is going to really get this one done. No offense to Bruno. I think he's a decent fighter, undefeated, but too much too soon. I think he gets packed up, and I think Munguia, it's onward and forward after that. Probably against Berlanga. That's probably what I want to see.
Yes.
But I mean, I 100% agree with you. He should be fighting the top or at least the upper echelon of this division. But that being said, I mean, that's all we really got for this one. We did some UFC, we did some boxing. We broke those motherfuckers down. But my brother, take us home.
Yeah, so episode 80 in the books. You already know. Like, comment, subscribe, follow Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
Everybody enjoying these visuals right now. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell to stay up to date. Damn it.
And for all of our audio listeners, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, you already know. For all of our UFC heads that casually poke their head in for this podcast, this is the last card of the year. December's going to be stale, but we will be covering boxing over the next couple of weeks. We have Usyk Fury towards the middle of this month, which is a humongous fight.
Oh, yeah.
So tune in for that. The good thing about that, the bad thing about it, obviously no UFC. The good thing about that, the podcast will be much shorter because we're going to be covering boxing.
At least in these next couple episodes, for sure.
Yes, and obviously boxing is either you knock out or go to decision. There's no really submission upside, so you just got to analyze who you think is going to win and how from just 2 points of reference and 2 points of how fights are going to be managed and completed versus 3 or 4, which, we take it to account here, obviously, with MMA.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of, you got to take account of, corruption.
That's true.
It's just weird stoppages. There's some shenanigans. Boxing, you know what I'm saying? I love boxing, but,
You got to call it what it is.
Yeah, I know what it is.
Amanda Serrano getting robbed.
Yeah,
we won't get into that, but.
Rough days.
Regardless, we appreciate you guys. If this is the, for the UFC heads, if this is the last podcast you're tuning into, we appreciate you. Please keep the subscriptions coming. We know you guys love it. We've been getting a lot of positive feedback from you guys. It's free content, free 99, free picks, and we know we've given you guys some good feeds on fights that were complete auditings over the last couple of weeks. So please Keep the algorithm going. We will continue to pump our content. We also have a lot of new things coming this upcoming year. We are very excited to unveil them. Please support the page, support the network. Love you guys. Holla at you guys. See you next week for episode 81, Boxing Heads. Let's do it. Holla at you later.